Hey guys, Harry here from the Arcade Guy. Thank you so much for joining me today. As you can tell by the title here, I'm going to talk about my top artist supplies that I couldn't live without. I'm often asked what supplies I use for my own projects, what supplies I love for just me. I'm always doing reviews and stuff like that and talking about products because I'm trying to help you guys select the best products for you. But obviously I have my own selection of products that I enjoy using. If I'm just out in the studio and I want to do some artwork, I will select all of these art supplies. I won't use any of the ones that I've maybe done a review on or something like that. These are the ones that I'll always go to. And so, like I say, I'm always asked this question and I always shy away from it because I don't want people to think, right, they are the products that we've got to get because Harry uses them, because the products that I enjoy using may not work for you the way they work for me. It's all very subjective, and art supplies are very individual, I think. Everybody's got to find their own thing, really. Anyway, let's get on with it. Let's get through this list. And by the way, this list, there's not any, number 1 or number 10 or anything like that. There's no best or anything. This is just a list of all the different products I use. So the first thing is the Caran d'Ache Aquarelle palette. Now, I've spoke about this thing on many occasions. This is a little plastic, a white plastic palette. As you can see from the images there, it's got a hole in it you stick your thumb through, and it basically transforms water-soluble crayons or water-soluble pencils or markers into... It gives you the ability to use those products like you would pans or tubes. One side of the palette is rough, and that allows you to use the crayons, like you rub the crayons on there, or pencils, the same thing, you rub the pencils on there, it'll take off some of the pigment, and then you can mix the pigments on the palette. Sometimes whenever you're doing when you're working with watercolor pencils, you've got to do, a lot of people do the mixing on the paper, and that's all very well and good, you can do that, but when you're mixing on the paper, you don't always know exactly what color you're going to get, and if you're looking for a particular color, you've got to then go back and try it again. With the palette, you can just mix and match until you get the color that you want from your pencils. Then you can start using it and there's no problems. The other side of the palette is smooth, and that's for if you have, say, water-soluble markers. Winsor & Newton do a set of water-soluble markers. There's lots of them out there. Spectrum Noir as well. And so you can rub the ink on the smooth side of the palette, and again you can mix them. You can mix and match to get the colour that you want to get. So this little palette is just it just transforms things like water soluble pencils, crayons and markers. It gives you another dimension with those products rather than the one-dimensional use that you have with them, which is just using them as you would do a pencil, drawing them on. Next up is the Caran d'Ache Luminance 100 set. Now, I love the Caran d'Ache Luminance for again, this goes back to everybody has different products that they will love. The Caran d'Ache Luminance work best for me because in that 100 set there are enough colours there to allow me to do like fan art. Whenever I'm doing fan art, there's enough bright, vibrant colours there, but then on the other side there's plenty of muted tones to do like pet portraiture or human portraiture. So I think that the Caran d'Ache Luminance 100 set gives you the best of all those areas of art. I love the Dermot Lightfast pencils, but if it came down to choosing a set, that it would definitely be the Caran d'Ache Luminance. I think with the Dermot Lightfast, there's not many bright, vibrant colours in that set. it's mainly aimed for botanical, pet portraiture, landscape, those types of areas. That setup, those Derwent Lightfast pencils do exceptionally well. Number 3 is my Staedtler clutch pencil. Now, a clutch pencil is a little bit different from a mechanical pencil. The clutch pencils come in lots of different sizes in terms of the internal core. And the internal core is just one long stick of graphite. You open the clutch pencil, as you can see on the images here, and then you just slide the graphite core into the barrel. Now, mine just happens to be a Staedtler. You can get lots and lots of different brands on the market there. But when you sharpen these, you get a needle point sharp core. And that allows you to get the most precise details that you can imagine. And sometimes you got to be really careful, because if you're like working with other pencils or something like that and you've got your clutch pencil in your hand, the amount of times that I've accidentally stabbed myself in the hand with the core of the clutch pencil is unbelievable. But I do love it. I couldn't be without the clutch pencil. Next up is the kneaded eraser. Now, I can remember when I first got into art and I was looking in different stores and what have you, and I would always see this like putty eraser. I had no idea what it was for, but I personally think that it should not be called a kneaded eraser. I know it does lift off graphite and charcoal and stuff like that there, but I find it's more a drawing tool. It allows you to, if you're working with graphite or charcoal or anything like that, and you need to lift off just the tiniest little bit of graphite, just to reveal a little bit of highlight, your kneaded eraser is perfect. If you use a vinyl eraser, something like that, it will perhaps take off too much, and then you're going to have to go back over it with your graphite pencils and stuff like that. The other good thing about the kneaded eraser is you can shape it and mold it into whatever shape you want. You can shape it into a little point, or you can shape it into like almost like a blade, so you get this nice thin line with it. A lot of people use this here whenever they're doing human portraitures and they need to get the skin texture right, so they will use a kneaded eraser to get like the pock marks of the skin on the face. And a kneaded eraser like that works perfectly for that type of thing. Next up is the Derwent water brushes. Now, there are tons of different water brushes on the market, but for me, the new Derwent water brushes are amazing. So one of the biggest problems I've always had with other water brushes is actually applying the water to the water brush. Some of them you've got to kind of like squeeze the barrel. You've got to put the barrel under the water, squeeze it, and then release it, and it'll suck up all the water. But it always, for me in any case, only half fills. Other ones, you've got a plunger and you draw the water up, but again, it only half fills. With the Derwent water brushes, you just unscrew the barrel and you just fill it up. When you split the barrel and you've got that neck to pour the water into, it's wide, so it just takes the water very, very easily, and there's no, it fills it completely. The other thing I love is the shape of these brushes. It's just like holding a pencil in the hand. They're shaped incredibly well, and then with regards to the actual brushes themselves, they're the same as most water brushes. They are nice and soft, but for me, it's the shape of the barrel and the ease of putting the water into it which makes these the perfect water brushes for me. And there's also a little button on the side here which allows you to control the water. You know, you can press it gently, you'll get a few extra drops of water out, or squeeze it a little bit harder and you're going to get a little bit more water out. So I really love the Derwent water brushes. Next up is Caran d'Ache Super Colour Soft 2. So going back to the Caran d'Ache palette, you know, the Derwent water brushes, the water soluble pencils that I love to use are the Supercolour Soft. Now, the Caran d'Ache Museum Macro Whale are definitely a much higher grade of water-soluble pencil, but I still always turn to the Supercolour Soft water-soluble pencils. Now, I have the 120 tin, and that is overkill when it comes to water-soluble pencils. When I got it, it was a deal, so I just couldn't pass it up. But when you're dealing with water-soluble pencils, whatever brand of water-soluble pencil you like, you can get away, especially if you've got the palette, you can get away with a 24 set, or even push it up to a 36 set if you want. I wouldn't go any higher than 36. A lot of people would say not to go higher than 24, but with it even as low as a 12 set, when you have got the palette, you can mix and create almost any colour that you need, just as you would do with watercolour pans or watercolour tubes. You will find that a lot of watercolour artists will only have in their palette maybe 8 colours. And from those 8 colours, they have been selected specifically give them the additional colours that they're going to need. If you look at their artwork, if you look at their paintings, you'll see many more colours than just 8. But that's the mixing ability that watercolour gives you. And that's the same for water-soluble pencils. But for me, I just love the Caran d'Ache Supercolour Soft 2. They are just a phenomenal pencil. Very, very pigment heavy. Next up is the Faber-Castell Pitt Graphite Matte pencils. I love using graphite. I think graphite is a very forgiving medium. You can make mistakes, and so long as you're working light-handedly and stuff like that, you can pretty much get rid of that mistake and just start all over again. One of the biggest downsides of working with graphite is that once you've applied a few layers and what have you, and you've finished your piece, when you is sat on a table or it's hanging on a wall and the light hits it in a certain way, or you maybe look at it side on, you always get this metallic sheen to it. A lot of people say use charcoal, because with charcoal you don't get that type of sheen. But a lot of people don't like the messiness of charcoal. They think it's they don't like the texture of it and the mess that it makes. So Faber-Castell came out with these carbon graphite mix pencils. And because there's carbon mixed in with the graphite, it's just like using graphite pencils, but you don't get that sheen. They're incredibly dark, and so they give you the really, really rich dark shadows or whatever that you need without that metallic sheen if the light hits it in a certain way. So I just couldn't be without these Faber-Castell Pitt Graphite Matte pencils. Number 8 is my Etcher field case. Now, I've done a few reviews of the Etcher products that they have out there, and the field case is the one that I use every day. So all of the products that I'm talking about here, with the exception of the 120 set and the 100 set of Caran d'Ache Luminance, everything else, the pencils and stuff like that, they all go into my field case. I have everything I need in this field case, so I don't get out much because of my spinal injury. But even when I went on holiday over to the lakes, that type of thing, all I need to do is grab this and grab a sketchbook, and I have everything I'm going to need. All my my water brushes are in here, my pencil erasers, mechanical pencils, fine liners, graphite matte pencils, a few charcoal pencils. Every single thing I need is in this, and I just think the way this field case is laid out and all the different elastic bands in it allow you to put so many things in here. But when you look at it, you wouldn't think that. Another thing about it is the durability. Now, like I say, I don't get out a lot, nearly as much as I would love to, but it has been thrown about on the ground a few times, and it's always withstood that type of abuse. So it's a really well made product. It's going to last you a lifetime, and it holds all the things that you're going to need if you go out sketching. Number 9 is the Derwent pencil extenders. Now, these things do not get the hype that they deserve. There are lots and lots of different pencil extenders on the market, and I've tried quite a few. Not all of them, but quite a few. And most of them, especially the ones where you insert the pencil, like the Derwent ones, you insert the pencil and then you twist the end to tighten it. Ones that I've tried like that, they always end up breaking, or they don't fit the bigger pencils, like the Derwent drawing pencil or the Derwent artist pencils like that, pencils that have got thicker barrels. With the Derwent pencil extender, you get a black and a silver one, and the black one is slimmer, so it fits pencils like the Prismacolor or Faber-Castell Polychromos. And then the silver one is the slightly thicker one, and that one allows you to put in pencils like the Derwent Drawing Pencil or the Derwent Artist, pencils that have got a much thicker girth. You can also, obviously, use them for charcoal pencils, anything like that. And basically what it is, when you sharpen your pencil and it gets right down to just a little bit left, it's really difficult to use a pencil when it's that small. It's difficult to control it, and so you use a pencil extender, which gives, rather than you throwing away a fair bit of the pencil extender allows you to use it until it's like right down to just a little bit of core. Given that pencils and charcoal pencils and coloured pencils and things like that are really expensive in this day and age, these pencil extenders are a godsend. Now, I have about, I think it's 6 of each, 6 of the black and 6 of the silver. So I use them as often as I can, but you don't need to get like 6 of each or anything like that. If you get a set of 2, all you got to do is just every time you need to change the pencil, just untwist it and stick in another pencil. It takes seconds. I just have the other ones just for convenience more than anything else. Next up is my Faber-Castell fountain pen. Now, I did a review of this fountain pen, and I absolutely love it. But a while ago, I started watching artists that do like pen and wash artwork, and so many of them, even watercolor artists and stuff like that, that will use either fine liners or fountain pens to give them definition of like railings, things like that, over their watercolor washes. And I love that style of painting. I think it's very loose. I think it looks beautiful. And even some of the more intricate penmanship, the workmanship that goes into some of the other drawings and some paintings, I love them. The thing about the fountain pen is you can change the ink. You can put in like make sure that you're putting in waterproof ink. Unfortunately, there's only one fountain pen that I know of that will take Indian ink, because the other fountain pens, if you put in Indian ink into a fountain pen, it'll clog up and it'll be a nightmare to clean, and in some instances you will not be able to get it clean and it would just be useless then. The thing about the fountain pen is it can give you really, if you've got a good fountain pen, it can give you good line variation. You can get really super thin lines with it, or you can press down a little bit harder and the end of the nib splays open just a little bit, which allows more ink to flow through it, and that gives you a thicker line. So you can get second-hand fountain pens that won't cost the earth, that will be a little bit older, and the older ones tend to have a more flexible nib and give you much more line variation. The newer fountain pens, especially the cheaper ones, don't really give you that variation in line width. But like I say, if you get a second-hand fountain pen and it's quite an old one, it'll have a really good nib on it, and it'll give you the really nice line variations that I'm talking about. But I love just using my fountain pen. If I'm sat down somewhere, I'm doing a watercolor, and I get out the fountain pen just to add in some detail. Next up is the Koh-I-Noor Hardmouth pencil eraser. Now, again, I've used so many different pencil erasers over the years, including the Tombow Mono and stuff like that. And the Tombow Mono is a really nice product. It really is. But I find that the actual eraser inside it is slightly too hard for my liking. The Koh-I-Noor pencil eraser, I think, has the perfect balance between hard and soft with the actual eraser part of it. And this doesn't leave any residue. It doesn't create any smudging or anything like that when you're doing some erasing with it. And again, like the putty eraser, pencil erasers can help you draw. They're not just for removing mistakes. They can help you draw on your graphite or charcoal work, just to give you, hair or whiskers, that type of thing. This Koh-I-Noor pencil eraser is the best that I've used so far. Next up is the M&R sharpener. Now, I have spoke about this sharpener on many occasions, and I absolutely love it. It comes in 4 different shapes. So the one I have is just a round one, which has got 2 hole sizes. But there are 3 other shapes that you can get. But ultimately, M&R are a German brand. The craftsmanship in these sharpeners is just perfect. But it's the blades. The blades are so super sharp. So whenever you get your sharpener and you start sharpening a pencil, it is like butter. It is like cutting through butter. You can buy replacement blades, and I think they come in a little set of 8 or 10 or something like that. Now people will say to me, how often do you replace your blades? Well, that's like saying how long is a piece of string. It just all depends on how many pencils you're sharpening and stuff like that. And because I'm doing reviews, when I get a new set of pencils, I'll sharpen them straight away. So I'm sharpening an awful lot. But I will replace my blades maybe once every 3 months. And I just love putting in a new blade, because when you put in your new blade, you can feel the difference. You can see the difference. It's just remarkable. And so the M&R handheld sharpener is just perfect. Now, I know that if you've got a lot of pencils and you're doing a lot of work and stuff like that, an electric eraser is probably the way to go. I personally have never used an electric eraser. I've got to get round to doing some sort of testing and reviewing on electric erasers, but it's something I've not used yet. I'm a little bit dubious of them. They seem to eat a lot of the pencils from what I've seen, but then there are others that don't chew the pencils up quite as much. So it's something that I need to look into. But for now, I use my little M&R sharpener. I do have a hand crank sharpener as well, a Caran-d'Ache hand crank sharpener. And I'll only use that if, say, the pencil, the core of the pencil isn't centered and I need something to hold the pencil still. So I'll use the hand crank sharpener. But the point that this little M&R sharpener gives is just beautiful. It's perfect. I find that hand crank sharpeners, no matter what it is, they don't deliver that needle point sharpness that you can get with a handheld sharpener. And so that's the reason why I always use this M&R sharpener. So next up is the Etcher watercolor sketchbook. So Etcher do these sketchbooks. They have a signature range, and then they have just their ordinary sketchbooks, which have got a white cover on them. Now you can get these in different paper variations: hot press, cold press, or rough. And obviously, depending on what you're going to do in the book will depend very much on the paper that you would use. So I love doing sketching and things like that in my Etcher watercolor book. So I have, for doing sketching, hot press. I also have another one which I do little watercolor sketches and things like that in it. And I have the rough paper for that. I just prefer rough over cold press. They are just phenomenal sketchbooks, and I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the paper is from Fabriano. But regardless where it's from, the paper quality is exceptional. Hardly buckles, I know in a sketchbook you're not likely to be doing big, super heavy washes, but I've applied a fair amount of water in my sketchbook. The pages are brilliant. They withstand such a lot of water for a sketchbook. They're well made as well. They're very robust. I've had these sketchbooks now for quite a while. They haven't fallen apart. Pages haven't started coming out of them or anything like that. So I really do love them. I know some artists will decorate the front cover of the white etcher sketchbooks, which is fantastic to see. It's kind of like a canvas material on the front of the sketchbooks, the white ones. So it allows you to do like ink drawings and then apply marker on it or watercolor on it or acrylic. So it's up to you. Next up is my Noodler's waterproof ink. Now this goes back to the fountain pen. Because I do use the fountain pen with watercolors, I need to have waterproof ink inside that. And the best ink that I have, and I bring this with me everywhere I go, because when you're drawing with a fountain pen, when you're doing like little bits and bobs and stuff like that, sketching with a fountain pen, it actually runs out very, very fast. So I have to have this ink with me all the time. And Noodler's, I believe, is an American brand, but you can't get it here in the UK. You can get it on Amazon or you can get it at Jackson's. So it's a great quality ink. It really is. You get a lot in the bottle. And it's not terribly expensive. The quality of this ink is just phenomenal. And like, you can get it in different colors. Obviously, you can get it in reds and stuff like that. But you need to just take a look and see what color you want. And it doesn't have to be waterproof ink. You know, if you just want to have ordinary ink in your pen and you want to go for Noodler's, by all means do so. It is, like I say, it's a top quality ink. And the one that I use, which is waterproof, when I apply it and then I just do a wash over it, it just doesn't smudge at all. Because the last thing you want to do is do a sketch with your fountain pen and then come in with some lovely, bright, vibrant watercolors and they all get muddied up because the ink runs into them. That's the last thing in the world you want. And last of all, in my list is a white Posca pen. Everybody will know in the mixed media community, you know, especially colour pencil artists, it's really difficult to get a super white highlight. Whether you leave the white of the paper or whatever it is that you do, it'll somehow get contaminated with some of the colours and it just won't always be that super white. We're always searching for a white opaque pencil or something that is going to help give us a really bright, vibrant highlight. The Jelly Roll pens are okay, but for me they clog up too easily and they're a pain in the backside, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't work. But with the Posca pens you can get different nib sizes, so depending on what type of thing you're going to be using it for will depend on the nib size that you get. But some of the nib sizes are very, very tiny, which allow you to have fantastic detail with them. But it's the acrylic paint that comes out of them that is excellent quality in the Posca pen, and the white that is used is quite opaque, and it does, you know, when it dries, it looks nice on the drawing that you're doing. So guys, that's my list of art supply products that I just now couldn't be without. I don't know about you guys, but since I've started doing artwork, if I'm sitting in the house or something like that and I'm maybe watching TV, I get an urge to want to draw, and I've got to go and get my sketchbook and something to draw with. It's happened over the last 4 or 5 years, I think. The more and more that I've got into art, I get these urges that I need to draw. And so over the years, I've accumulated the art supplies that I just couldn't do without now. So I've just given you my list. I would love to know your list. Let me know the art supplies that you have in your kit. Doesn't have to be as many as mine, or it can be more than mine, whatever. just the art supplies that you use that you just couldn't be without now that you have used them and you understand them and you love them. I'd love to know in the comment section down below. Also, if you've got any questions about the products that I've just mentioned, again, just leave your questions in the comment section and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I have added some links here as well because most of the products that I've mentioned here I've done reviews of, or the product is in a review. So you can click on the link, go across and watch the video, and you will learn a little bit more about whatever product, like for example the Caran d'Ache palette. So that's it, guys. If you've liked this video and you enjoy the channel, please give the video a like, share it with other people in your social media feeds, and also as well, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel. It really does help the channel grow and it helps Google see the channel more and push the channel out to other people. If you enjoy the content, if you think you get value from it, then please do subscribe and join in. And what I will say is, if you do want to subscribe to the channel, I personally think, and I know I'm biased, that the community that is gathered around this particular channel is exceptional. The people who leave comments in the comment section are always willing to help, are always willing to give advice to to new artists or young artists, and I think it's the community that is set up around the Art Gear Guide is the best. So bear that in mind as well when you're thinking about whether you want to subscribe or not. If you want to ask me some questions about the channel, about the website or anything like that before subscribing, by all means you can do that as well. You can either leave your question in the comment section, or you can email me personally at theartgearguide@gmail.com. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon. Bye.